and an old man goes to a restaurant and orders a chicken dish. By the time the food is ready and he is about to eat, the waiter comes back and says, "Sir, I'm afraid there's been a mistake. You see, that police officer who is sitting at the next table is a regular customer of ours, and he usually orders the same dish. The problem is this is the last chicken in the house. I'm afraid I'll have to take this dish to him and arrange for another dish for you." The old man gets really upset and refuses to give up his food. The waiter walks over to the other table and explains the situation to the officer. A few minutes later, the officer walks over to the old man's table and says, "Listen and listen good. That is my chicken you are about to eat, and I'll warn you, whatever you do to that chicken, I'll do the same to you. You pull out one of its legs, I'll pull out one of yours. You break one of its wings, I'll break one of your arms." The old man calmly looks at the chicken, then sticks his middle finger in the bird's rectum, pulls it out and licks it. He then gets up, drops his pants, bends over and says, "Go ahead." Well, Johnny spends a rare weekend with his dad. "Son, this is your weekend. Have anything you want. Ask and you shall receive." After a little thought, Johnny says, Dad, I want a donkey." The father wasn't expecting this strange request, but he was a man of his word. "Okay, son, ask and ye shall receive." The next day, they go to the local pizza home and buy a donkey. When they get it home, the little Johnny chirps, "Dad, can I call the donkey Jerk?" As he was about to say no, then Dad remembers the promise. "Of course, son, Jerk it is." Johnny then spends a fantastic day getting to know his new pet. That evening, they tie the donkey up in the garden. The next morning, little Johnny wakes up early and looks out of the window. To his horror, the donkey has broken free, jumped the fence, and is nonchalantly munching grass half a mile away. Johnny panics and runs into his dad's bedroom. Dad, jerk off over the field." The dad say, "Look, Johnny, I know I made a promise, but there are limits." Little Johnny was wondering one day and decided to ask his dad, "Dad, how come big dogs can make little dogs and big cats can make little cats? But why can't big trains make little trains?" Little Johnny's father replied, "Well, Johnny, this sounds like a great query for your mother." So off Johnny went to go ask his mother, "Mom, why do big dogs make little dogs and big cats make a little cat? But why can't big trains make little trains?" Little Johnny's mom thought about it and said, "Well, Johnny, this sounds like a good question to ask Mr. Jones down at the railroad yard." So off Johnny went to go ask Mr. Jones, "Mr. Jones, why do big dogs make little dogs and big cats make little cats, but why can't big trains make little trains?" Mr. Jones looked at Johnny seriously and said, "Well, Johnny, that's because Union Pacific always pulls out on time." A few women were sitting around the table talking, and the subject turned to their husbands. One lady said, "My husband just won't go to church with me. I think he's going to go to hell." This led to talk around the table, and it was generally agreed that for one reason or another, all the husbands were going to end up in hell. So then the housewives started speculating about themselves. One woman said, "I try to be good. I'm sure I'll make it to heaven." Another one said, "No, I did this bad thing. I won't make it unless I'm in my ways, and I better start soon." At this point, they noticed that one of the ladies, the only single blonde woman in the group, wasn't saying anything. They turned to her and said, "You're such a nice lady, surely you'll be going to heaven." She says, "No way. In fact, first thing in the morning, I'm going to buy me a ticket straight to hell." They were shocked and asked, "Why?" She replies, "Well, you don't expect me to live in a world without men, do you?" A professor sits with a farmer in a train. Bored, the professor says to the farmer, "I ask you a question. If you can't answer it, you give me $5. Then you ask me a question. If I can't answer it, I give you $500. What do you think? What is the distance between the earth and the moon?" The farmer silently takes out $5 and gives it to the professor. The farmer asks the professor, "What animal has 3 legs when ascending a mountain and 4 legs when descending a mountain?" The professor thinks hardly but couldn't find an answer, so he reluctantly pulls out $500 for the farmer. The farmer takes the $500 and prepares to nap. The professor asks, "What animal is it?" The farmer takes out $5 and gives it to the professor. Then he falls asleep. The man is in bar and falling off his stool every couple of minutes. He's obviously drunk. The bartender says to another man in the bar, "Why don't you be a good Samaritan and take him home?" The man takes the drunk out the door and to his car, and he stumbles at least 10 times. They drive along, and the drunk points out his house to the man. He stops the car, and the drunk stumbles up the steps to his house with the man. The drunk's wife greets them at the door. She says, "Well, thank you for bringing him home for me, but where's his wheelchair?" Man and his wife are awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning by a loud pounding on the door. The man gets up and goes to the door where a drunken stranger, standing in the pouring rain, is asking for a push. "Not a chance," says the husband. "It is 3 o'clock in the morning. He slams the door and returns to bed. Who was that? Asked his wife. Just some drunk guy asking for a push. Did you help him? She asked. No, I did not. It is 3 o'clock in the morning, and it is pouring out there. Well, you have a short memory. Can't you remember about 3 months ago when we broke down and those two guys helped us? I think you should help him, and you should be ashamed of yourself. The man does as he is told, gets dressed, and goes out into the pounding rain. Hello, are you still there? Do you still need a push? Calls out the husband. Yes, please. Comes the reply from the dark. Where are you? Asks the husband. The drunk replies, I'm over here on the swing. The woman went shopping. At the cash counter, she opened her purse to pay. The cashier noticed a TV remote in her purse. He could not control his curiosity and asked, Do you always carry your TV remote with you? She replied, No, not always, but my husband refused to accompany me shopping today because of football match, so I took the remote. The cashier laughed and then returned all the items that the lady had purchased. Shocked at this act, she asked the cashier what he was doing. He said, Your husband has blocked your credit card. The man and his wife were driving down the road and talking. The wife asked her husband, Honey, if I were to die, would you get remarried? The husband thought for a moment and then said, Well, yes, I think I would. The wife wasn't too happy about this. She spent some time in quiet thought. Then after a while, she said, Honey, if I were to die and you were to get remarried, would you give your new wife my jewelry? Well, honey, I guess I would. The wife wasn't too happy about this either. She spent a little more time in thought while they continued their drive and then said, Honey, if I were to die and you were to remarry, would you give your new wife my handbags? The husband paused for a moment and then said, Well, sure, I think I would. The wife was again a little dismayed with this and spent a little more time in thought. Then she said to her husband, Honey, if I were to die and you were to get married again, would you give your new wife my golf clubs? No, he said, she's left-handed. An old man goes to his doctor complaining about a pain in his leg that doesn't heal and wants a diagnosis and explanation. The doctor checks out his leg but can't find anything wrong. So he gives the old guy a full physical exam and still can't come up with any possible explanation for the pain. The doctor hands the patient his bill and says, I'm sorry, but the pain in your leg is simply caused by old age. There's nothing I can do about it. The old man replies with a look of disbelief, That's impossible. That can't be. The doctor says, What do you mean? I'm the expert here. If you know so much, how can you say it's not old age? The patient answers, I'm no doctor, but it doesn't take a medical degree to tell that your diagnosis is wrong. Clearly, you're mistaken. After all, my other leg feels just fine. So what? Says the doctor, what difference does that make? The old man replies, Well, it doesn't hurt a bit, and it's the same age. Husband and wife were grocery shopping when the husband picked up a case of Budweiser and placed it in the cart. What do you think you're doing? Asked the wife. It's on sale. Only $10 for a case, he replies. We can't afford it. Put it back, demands the wife. They continue shopping, and a few minutes later, the wife puts a $20 jar of face cream into the cart. What do you think you're doing? Asks the husband. It's my face cream. It makes me look beautiful, replies the wife. So does the Budweiser, and it's half the price, retorts the husband.